These lectures are called Ross Smith Lectures. It is funded by Nancy and Calvin Ross in honor of their parents, and this is the third year that these lectures are offered here at Emmanuel. This week's lectures are entitled Once Upon an Addiction, Narratives of Substance Abuse, Faith, and Recovery. And in addition to the lectures, the Ross Smith family has also been generous and has provided lunch for us. So we had lunch on Tuesday, we had food yesterday at the hospital, and we have lunch today. Not only lunch, we have lively discussions as well. If you are not here on Tuesday, everybody wanted to stay as long as it went. We had to stop it. So today I would like you to come. We continue in those discussions at lunch time. So please don't leave if you are able to stay. The students will go to their classes, but majority will stay behind to enjoy the lunch and the lively discussions with Dr. Lloyd. Today, on Tuesday, we heard Stephen's story. What an amazing journey it was. And on Wednesday, we heard stories of the unseen, widening the horizons of recovery, and that was at Vota Auditorium at ETSU. And today, it is new stories, community action, and coalitions. I think we had a foretaste of that yesterday at ETSU campus, a medical school, and I cannot wait to hear the continuation of those discussions. We have good panelists in front of you, led by the moderator, Stephen Lloyd, who is the Chief of Medicine at Gwynedd College of Medicine at ETSU. Now, before Stephen comes, I want to thank those who have participated in making this possible. We have camera people here. We have people doing some recording. I will not mention names, but I want to say thank you for all of you. The Student Council Association, Student Government Association has been very, very, very helpful in preparing the lunches Tuesday and today. So we also thank them for this. And finally, we want to thank the committee that was able to meet several times in the summer, last year and this year, to prepare these lectures. And finally, to thank the Ross Smith family, who are also the participants. Now, let me see any of the Ross Smith family here. Can you please stand up? I know there were 3 on Tuesday. Can we recognize you? Calvin, oh yes, Calvin and who else? Nancy? Oh, please come in, Nancy. And who else is here from that family? I think there were 3. But anyway, thank you. We thank you so much for what you've done.
Still morning. Good morning. Sorry, it was a long night. Before I get started at all, I want to thank Calvin and Nancy. I really appreciate it. I got home last night. It was late. I had to go back to the hospital when I left you guys, and this, I don't know if it's helped anybody else, but it's helped me. So I really appreciate you having me, and I always loved Big Dan Ross, your son, and now I don't have any question how Dan got to be like he is. So I appreciate all that you've done for me. I want to share something with you before we get started. If you've been here any of the past 2 days, one of the things that you've heard us talk a lot about is community. You've heard us talk a lot about validation, about ridding yourself of shame or helping others rid themselves of shame. I want to share something with you that happened to me this morning. So last night when I left, you had to go back to the hospital, and I worked till really late. And I got up this morning and went back in and was working away, and I was kind of feeling a little bit sorry for myself, to be honest with you. And got down to a little bit of pity, but I'm the chief of medicine at my hospital. I'm an associate professor at the medical school. I have all these things that I think that I've done and allow me to throw my chest out every once in a while like a Baney rooster. And it's just amazing to me how many people were important in my life that helped me get like I am. And so while I'm sitting there working this morning, my phone goes off. It's a text. I assume it's one of the many that drive me crazy during the day. And this one says, it's from my dad. In the middle of the morning, it says, Steve, I run into people all the time that brag on you and Becky. Becky is my sister. I don't know if I deserve you to or not, but you brought a lot of joy into my life. Thanks, and I love you, Dad. Now, that's better than a med school diploma. That's better. I mean, to have your dad validate you, and Doug, you know my dad. Having your dad validate you and tell you he's proud of you, I don't know that anything feels better than that. A lot of people that we deal with, and Ashton's up here. Ashton does great stuff, but she'll be able to tell you this as well. A lot of people that we deal with don't have parents like that, and my dad and I weren't always close. As a matter of fact, we went through a time where we were pretty much mortal enemies. And the beautiful thing about recovery, and the beautiful thing that you guys can bring to this is that spirit of forgiveness and understanding, and then building relationships that would have never been as strong had it not been for the turmoil of the past. So I just wanted to share that with you. It certainly made my day, and I think I can trudge on now. When I was looking at the list of folks who are here today last night, I knew all of them but one. The only one I didn't know was Monty. And I laughed because if you were there last night, you know Monty. So I now know Monty. And his personality is infectious, so I can't wait to get to know him a little bit. I want to throw out one term before we get started because I'm afraid that we're going to use it, and I want you to know what we're talking about. Well, I'm sure at some point today we're going to talk about drug courts. Okay, and if you're like me, 10 years ago I had no idea what a drug court was. Okay, drug courts are programs that are all around the country right now. They've been looked at as the biggest single reforming program in the history of criminal justice. So when someone is convicted of a crime, sometimes it can be a small crime, sometimes it can be a bigger crime, as long as it's not nonviolent. The judge will have the opportunity to divert them into drug court. They still get sentenced, they still have the sentence there, but they can choose treatment option instead of the incarceration option. And it's really amazing that when you work in drug courts, what you see. I can tell you that I work in the drug court in Greene County, and if you look at numbers nationwide, 75% of all people who complete drug court, and it's hard, 75% of them that complete drug court are never arrested again. All right, 75%. So in Ashton, where Ashton works at the Day Reporting Center, they are bringing people into their center. They've all been in trouble in the criminal justice system, and they're doing a lot of the things that we talked about last night. So I'm very excited to what Ashton and everybody else brings to the table. But I wanted you to understand what drug courts are and a little bit about how they work. So we'll start off with the dreaded introductions. I'll have you just introduce yourself. We'll start with Angela Hageman on the end and tell a little bit about how you can contribute to community action and coalitions for recovery.
Okay, so you want me to talk a little bit about Carter County Drug Prevention?
What you do, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Good morning. I'm Angela Hageman, and I am a program director at ETSU College of Public Health. And in that role, I oversee 3 formal research projects on prescription drug abuse prevention. And a part of that, the overall aims of that project are to do outreach into the community to make sure that communities have the information and the resources that they need to attack this problem, to prevent this problem, to address this problem. And so Carter County is where I ended up living. That's where I live now. I'm a resident here. This is Carter County. I haven't been here before. For 2 years, and when I moved there, I learned that there was not an active coalition. And so I talked to my boss, and I said, hey, we're supposed to do outreach. What do you think? Can we support this effort? And so Carter County Drug Prevention just celebrated their 1-year anniversary, and we support their development and help them write grants and work with the community. And we are not a funded coalition in that we don't have funding yet for staff, but we do have a funded project. And essentially, I won't ramble on, but I will tell you that I was thinking this morning, what do we have in common with the faith community? What do we have in common with pastoral care? And it's a lot. which may or may not be obvious. So we both mobilize communities and our constituents. We both are comprised of a cross-section of the population. We both provide information, advocacy, education. We both refer those in need to appropriate services. And we both work to improve the community so that the easy choice is the healthy choice, the right choice. And we try to make our communities better. So I like to use, I think you have a handout that has this Venn diagram on it. And so Jennifer and I are both coalition people. And a coalition is a little tricky to explain to the average person, but I think as a church community, you kind of get it. A coalition is, does everyone have this? No? Okay. Sorry. It's okay if you don't. I can sort of explain it. But essentially, you'll see that coalitions work on two levels of prevention, the individual and the community. So we work on working, and faith community is mentioned here. So we partner with the faith community. We partner with healthcare providers and schools to create a community that's sending healthy messages and making sure that folks understand addiction and that they know that it's a disease and that we're reducing stigma. So we have to be on the same page about that. And so we're working together as a coalition to change that culture in the community and inform the individual on how to make different decisions and how to access care. So that's sort of what a coalition does, and I know Jennifer will talk about it a little bit more. But three things that Carter County Drug Prevention is working on right now, we are specifically tackling prescription drug abuse. As I said, we're not a funded coalition, so we had to target what we felt and what we knew was the biggest problem in the community. So we're doing, the three things that we're doing are Count It, Lock It, Drop It program, which is to inform the community through their pharmacies how to secure their medications, count them every 2 weeks, secure them appropriately in the home. And I brought a lockbox that we're disseminating to folks that need it and have maybe a lot of medications but don't have a place to store them in their home. And then drop it in a safe disposal place in the community, which is usually your local police department. So that's one thing that we're doing. The other thing is, I brought it and I can show it later, but the first naloxone prescription that was filled in Carter County for a non-medical personnel was me yesterday. And so we're informing the community about naloxone, which is the antidote for an opioid overdose. This can be requested by your healthcare provider. You can have this with you. We lost 82 people in 6 years in Carter County to opioid or unintentional drug poisoning. And those are the ones that were defined in their autopsy as that. We assume that can be underreported. So I can show you how to use that later, tell you how to get that. So that's something else that we're doing in Carter County. And then we also did a resource guide for the schools, and I have a copy of that, so that schools understand how they can work with the community and work with the youth on this problem in ways that are evidence-based and informed. So that's pretty much what we're doing right now. And on my contact. Yeah.
Sounds pretty easy. We should all be able to go have lunch now. I want to try to tie in what each of these folks do with what we've talked about here over the past few days. So those of you there last night, you heard Dr. Smythe give you this statistic. 70% of people who start prescription drug abuse don't get their pills from a doctor, a pill mill, or off the street. They get it from your medicine cabinets. Okay? This is why drug take-back programs work. If you look at it, the people that are at highest risk of death from first-time overdose are kids, and they're taking it right out of your medicine cabinet. So the work that the College of Public Health is doing is getting these lock boxes in the community. You see the drug take-back programs. These things do work, and they impact morbidity and mortality, which are huge. The other thing Angela talked about and that we've hit on as well is naloxone. Naloxone is the antidote to opioid prescription, or opioid. When I say opioid, I mean prescription drugs or heroin overdose. So I love the project that it's taken on the name of. So Project Lazarus. Okay, so we basically bring them back from the dead. And it is the impact that it's made nationwide when first responders are armed with naloxone. And whenever we get naloxone in the hands of people who have prescriptions for more than 100 milliequivalents per day, I think the impact is going to be tremendous. Again, we can save somebody's life, and then we have time to start working on healing them. So, Angela, thanks. Our next panelist is Miss Ashton Belcher. Ashton, tell us what you do.
I was going to skip
over. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was going there. You all tell me. Okay. We'll skip to Jennifer Bervin.
Since I'm also with the coalition, my name is Jennifer Bervin. I'm with the Inside Alliance. We are the Prevention Coalition for Washington County. We used to be called the Washington County Anti-Drug Coalition, and we decided it kind of sounded like a SWAT team. So we kind of rebranded because other than just preventing drugs and alcohol, we also look at promoting healthy things in the community, because if people are doing healthy, safe, positive things, it's a lot harder for those negative impacts to take hold and to have an influence on people's lives. I've been with the coalition for 8 years, and we've done a lot. Two of our main focuses, primarily up to this point, we've focused a lot on alcohol. Alcohol is often the gateway and the companion to a lot of other things, including prescription drugs, and primarily looking at social access. And again, the same way with prescription drugs, the way that a lot of young people get their first taste of alcohol is also in the home. So we started something that was called Talk About It, because it's kind of a big deal, and I think it's that is an important component of, I think, reaching out with other groups is that the community feels comfortable. Our Talk About It was focused at parents talking to young people about it, but I think it fits because being able to bring addiction out of the closet, to bring these issues out into the out to the pulpit, out to the Sunday school rooms, out to the community, where people are comfortable having a conversation, and it's not something that people need to hide and be shameful about. I think Talk About It is a really good stepping point to start having those conversations, and we help give those tools to do that. We also are doing the lock boxes, so certainly if anybody's interested, very specifically this past weekend, I was at Central Church of Christ in Johnson City on Oakland. They had a Saturday of service, and while they were handing out clothes and food and toiletries and doing haircuts for folks, I was over there talking to them about safe medication storage and disposal. And it was a Saturday, and I wasn't really excited about working on a Saturday, but for every person that came up and they're like, oh my gosh, I have had my medication stolen, and oh my gosh, yes, I need this. Like I said, I realized I was right where I needed to be, reaching out, and just in a flash, like in an hour, we gave out 24 lock boxes. And had we had I could have given out many more. In fact, we took names. So again, that's an example. If you look above the diagram we talked about, it has some specific ways that churches and really any organization can partner with a coalition. First of all, just having people providing input, coming to our meetings. But even if you can't, it's just being more educated about some of the issues that we care about and that we're talking about. We can't be everywhere. We have 3 people on our staff. So having those extensions in the community. As a result, the church that I was at on Saturday, they are going to actually be a place as part of their food bank. They're going to be a place to do that education with folks about storage and disposal, and to give out the lock boxes if somebody has a need. And even people, and I even reminded them that 4 people within their own congregation came up and said, hey, I need one of those. So just reminding, I said, it's not just for the people who are coming to you, it's for the people that are right under their own roof. So again, take a look at those ways that we can help you, and if you ever have any questions, just let us know.
Thanks, Jennifer. One of the things in the prescription drug epidemic that we're facing is we've written a lot of prescriptions for opioids, but we haven't educated the people who are taking them. And they could be taking them for a legitimate reason on how important it is for safe storage and disposal. And we've done a terrible job at that. That's unusual for doctors because usually we're great communicators and everybody understands what we're talking about. So I'm not real sure how that happened. And Jennifer hit on some stuff that I want to make sure that we don't gloss over. Is we've talked a lot about prescription drug abuse. We've talked a lot about, well, not a lot. We've touched on marijuana. But if you look at mortality, people dying, 18,000 people a year die in the United States from drug overdose secondary to prescription opioids. Okay, so it's about, 2 people per state per day, something like that. I can't remember exactly what the breakdown is. 36,000, double that, die of complications related to alcohol. Alcohol is still out there, and it's socially acceptable. You know, I can stop at Colonel Steve's and they'll even give me a discount with my VA ID. So it's there. It kills a lot of people. But here's the kicker. We have a drug that kills 430,000 people a year. You know what it is? Tobacco. Tobacco kills 430,000 people per year. So when we talk about substance abuse, we need to look at the overall picture. A lot of it is crossed over, and tell you that a lot of patients that Tim and I treat, and certainly where Ashton works, I think everybody there smokes. It is prevalent, and it kills people. It also tears families apart when you lose someone too early. So Jennifer, thanks for bringing that up. I'll skip you again, Ashton, and we'll go to Monty. You got to get to know Monty.
Well, I feel bad because we skipped Ashton and I just met her, so I don't want to ruin our relationship. My name is Monty Burks. Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to come and sit on this panel. I work for the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. I'm the director of faith-based initiatives. And what my role is to mobilize the faith community to combat addiction. The reason that I was put into this role is because I stand firm on principle, and I also come from a background of working with the faith community and working with community organizations. I actually volunteered with the coalitions, worked in the prisons and jails, volunteered and worked as a staff member, and I've seen the devastating impact that drugs has had on the state of Tennessee. Moreover, I've seen the devastating impacts it's had on the families of the people who suffer from addiction. So in the role that I have, it's my job to reach out to the faith community to help them understand exactly what addiction is, define addiction for them, move beyond traditional language of moral failing and look at addiction as a treatable disease. I said last night that I don't challenge anyone's beliefs. That's not what we're here for. But what we want to do is add something to that belief principle, put something behind it so we can say, okay, addiction is a treatable disease. People can live in recovery. And recovery is the key. That's how we rebuild these lands. That's how we replenish these lands. And right now, Tennessee's population is 6.5 million, little more. We have 11,542 faith communities, faith organizations in Tennessee. We're the buckle of the Bible Belt. That's a great number. In Tennessee, we have 3.5 million congregation members, people who identify as people who go to a faith community, a faith organization, who attend regularly. Now you think about that sheer number. That's more than 60% of our state are people who identify as people of faith. Now we have 433,000 Tennesseans who have reached out and said they need to be into some kind of treatment program. They need, but don't receive treatment. Now, I'm going to do some math for you, and you can do it yourself. You take 3.5 million and divide that by 433,000. You have 8.1 congregation members per one person who is reaching out for something. Now, you tell me there's not power in the pews. And I quote that, and I say that often because I believe that the logistically, strategically, the faith community is the last strong point in the fight against addiction. Why so? Because if you look at a map and you red dot all of the faith institutions across the state of Tennessee, you can't see anything else. There's not one other single entity in the state of Tennessee that's as large as the faith community. Not McDonald's, not Wendy's. I don't even think them two together. You know, I didn't do that math, so don't quote me on that. But 3 out of 4 Tennesseans are touched by addiction. We have the sheer numbers and the strategic locations to be able to address that. And what my job is to go out and help the churches build recovery support groups. Recovery support tends to take the face of 12-step, but it doesn't necessarily have to be only 12 steps. All you need for recovery support is a pot of coffee and someone to talk. Incorporate a conversation about recovery. Talk to your parishioners, your congregation members, different denominations, different faiths, call it different things. But the members of that community are the most powerful impact on that community. And I think that's how we create systemic change. We utilize the resources that we have. I work directly with the coalitions. I work with our state's Lifeline program. Our Lifeliners are a group of individuals. I actually was a Lifeliner before I came to this position. The Lifeliners are a group of individuals who provide presentations to reduce stigma associated with people who are in recovery. Now, why do they do that? Because recovery stigma, when you're dealing with addiction, works more than one way. It's a two-edged sword. Not only do people feel stigmatized when they come out and say, hey, I need help, the people that want to help them feel stigmatized also, because they're afraid that the people that surround them are going to judge them because they want to help people. I can remember at a time when I first got into recovery support work, I was called a pesky do-gooder. Isn't that Scooby-Doo? But that's how someone defined me, and I actually have embraced that role as the pesky do-gooder because addiction is pervasive, it's elusive, and it's in your face. We live in a toxic culture. The message that our youth get lets them grow into accepting things that we know are not things they should accept. He hit the nail right on the head. 430,000 Tennesseans die from tobacco use. Wow. Because it's become accepted. Well, we don't have to accept that. And as the faith community, we can address that. We can change our communities individually. It doesn't matter what you believe or what your faith is. It does not matter. Addiction does not care what you look like or how much money you make. Addiction hits every socioeconomic status. It's in the affluent community and it's in the not so affluent community. I don't say bad community because I don't believe there is a bad community. They're all people in our state. They're our citizens. So that's what I do. Thank you.
I told you, money is full of energy, and I love that. Monty and I were talking before we got started, and it just dawned on me while I was listening to him just now. If you ask me what the challenge of this group is, and the people that you're going to reach out to, Larry, people like Larry, it's this. We have to become a place that people run towards rather than away from. There was a book that I read several years ago called What's So Amazing About Grace. And in it is a story of a young woman who was a prostitute. And she went about her life as a prostitute, and she had a small child. The child was a girl, and when the girl got old enough, the clients wanted the girl more than they did the mom. And so she wound up selling her daughter into prostitution and got in trouble for that. And somebody said, well, why don't, have you thought about going to church? And she said, well, why would I go to church? They'll just make me feel worse about myself. And I think that's our challenge because Monty and I talked and we share some of the same background. And when I got in trouble, I was raised in a little church in Jonesboro. That's how he moved. That's how I know Doug Fox and his wife Phyllis. I grew up in that church. Yet when I got in trouble, when the chips were down, that's the last place I wanted to be, because I was certain that the lessons that were going on every Sunday were about me and how I was going to hell, and there was no helping me. And I certainly didn't want to run there when I was in trouble. The weird thing about it is that when I got into recovery and met Chip Dodd, who introduced me to a different kind of faith, it was still Christianity, but it was an acceptance faith, a real forgiveness. He taught me the power of the forgiveness of Christ, the prodigal son picture, which hangs above his desk, and that was all something that I was not familiar with, and it was greatly relieving. So I think that is our challenge, is to become a place that people run towards rather than away from. All right, Ashton, finally.
My name is Ashton Belcher, and I'm the director of the Day Reporting Center. I started out as a probation officer with a house arrest probation agency, which is called the Alternative Community Corrections Program. Eric Perry was my supervisor. But we started the Day Reporting Center in August of 2013, and we received a grant from the Office of Criminal Justice Programs, which was implemented through the Johnson City Police Department. And they gave us, the grant was $800,000, and we were one portion of that grant. So we're among many of, I think, 18 different programs. So we're the largest portion of that grant. So we started, and we're actually in the same building as the Alternative Community Corrections Program. We partner with the judges and the Tennessee Department of Corrections and the Alternative Community Corrections and different agencies. And we have clients that come through criminal court, and they're ordered to attend and complete our program along with their probation. So whenever they begin our program, they have to do a series of classes, which is Monday through Thursday, 8:15 to 2 o'clock. And there's 3 different phases. The first phase, we focus on substance abuse and mental health, and we do a lot of group therapy. In phase 2, we start to require them to gain employment. They have to gain employment within the first 60 days, and they have to start attending recovery groups. Phase 3, we ask them to maintain that. One of our biggest, issues with that we're having right now with some of our clients is that they don't have a strong support system, and just like you said, some of them have never experienced that before. They don't belong to a church. They don't belong to an organization. They don't have a lot of family that are positive support systems. If you look at your packet, the Take One packet, we're asking churches to take one, to do exactly that, to take one person and to mentor them and to become a positive support system for them. I like to think of the Day Reporting Center as a healthy balance of incentives and consequences. What we have always done with the Department of Corrections and probation in general is to slap a consequence on things and then send them on their way. And that's not always been effective. It's proven that it's not effective. But with the Day Reporting Center, we're hoping that if we show them a different route, if we offer the 4-to-1 incentives, if we give them 4 incentives to 1 consequence, then maybe they'll get something positive out of it. And we try to want them to come. The first month they come is not always, they're not always happy to be there. But after about a month, you start to begin them to want to show up. We have crazy incentives, and Jason Abernathy has been a part of this as well. We recently separated our clients into groups, and it was group D, R, and C, and they could accrue points. So if they tested negative on a drug screen, they got a point. If they turned in their treatment plan packet, they got a point. And they had to reach 50. And whatever group accrued 50 points got to pick a staff member that they could throw a pie in their face. And they love that. They videoed it, put it on Facebook. But we like to do things like that to show them that that's how you have fun. Having fun doesn't always have to include like staying out until 3 o'clock in the morning and coming home high or intoxicated. Sometimes that can just include you going to a ball game and then going to go get ice cream afterwards. And that's what we are really hoping for with the mentorship, is for people just to show them what fun can be and what a celebration can be. So, thank you.
Who got the pie?
Oh, I got most of them. Unfortunately.
I want you, those of you who've been here for everything we've done so far, I want you to think about what Ashton just said. Because when the first day when we started talking about addictive disease, talked a little bit about brain stuff. Our frontal lobe of our brain, right here, right in the very part right here, okay? It is our predictor. It is what helps us predict the future. It is the part of our brain that helps us realize what consequences are. I can have this thought pop into my reward center in my brain, which is basically my animalistic instincts that tell me how I got to have food, I got to have water, I got to have sex, I got to have these things that make my species go forward. I got to have a thrill or an excitement. That's what our reward system does. It's constantly pumping that. It's the go. Well, the stop part of our brain is the frontal lobe right here. Several sections of it are really small, but they give us insight and judgment into consequences of actions. Okay, and the weird part is that our frontal lobe, our go or our stop, and our go, the reward center, aren't neurologically connected until we're about 23 years old. And I always teach my audiences that's how come your teenagers are stupid. Okay, well they're not stupid, but they make poor decisions because they don't have that connection. And what Ashton is talking about here, well, let me go back. Those connections are arrested whenever you start your substance abuse. Okay, they stop right then. So Ashton, how old are most of the clients that you see whenever you ask them about the first time they used drugs? About how old are they?
Oh, man. 15, 12. It's really young.
So you've got 15 and 12. Now, they may be biologically or chronologically in front of you. They may be 35. They may be 30. Yet they're making decisions like a 12-year-old. And the reason for that is the development of the frontal lobe. And the activities that Ashton has described to you are about learning consequences and learning rewards. And we've known forever that we get way more, right? You catch more flies with honey than vinegar. I can't remember what the saying is. We've known that forever, yet we don't practice it. And that's actually what they're trying to do at the DRC, the Day Reporting Center, is give them that positive feedback, help them get these things in their frontal lobe to program them because they've never been programmed. People are coming out of homes that don't have a mom and dad that are showing them consequences, don't have a mom and dad that are showing them what rewards or things that are possible. And I love that the DRC is doing that. I wanted to ask you one other question, Ashton. What are some of the challenges that you see that your clients face? They're coming out of jail. I'm sure they just come out, they get a job, they go right to work, no problem, right?
No, that's definitely not it. Well, as soon as they get out, a lot of times they have to find stable housing, especially if they're on house arrest. That's a requirement. And sometimes stable housing has been in a van in Walmart, in the Walmart parking lot. That's where they've had to live. Food. Here recently, that has been a huge issue for some of our clients. They're going home and they're not eating. We have one group that comes on Monday, and the group is from a church, and they mentor our clients and bring lunch. And that is the only day that we know that they have eaten. And that's sad. They don't have money to pay their probation fees or court costs. And they don't have money for transportation, but they don't have a job because they don't have transportation to get to the job. So it's sad, the amount of things that they face immediately upon being released from jail.
And I never understood any of that until I got involved in this line of work. When we turn, if we have somebody that we basically incarcerate for having addictive disease, then when they come out, we shackle them. We shackle them with not being able to get a job because they've been in jail. We shackle them with not having a driver's license. How many people can go to work if you don't have a car? Particularly in East Tennessee, it's not like we've got a mass transit system out there that you can go jump on. And then the fines that are levied in court. I had one young lady not long ago. I got her, and her fines are $12,000. Might as well be $12 million. She'll never get them paid off, and she'll go back into the system. And so what we have to look at really what we're doing. Seeing some of the charges that are levied on folks for really minor offenses that wind up bogging them down their entire life. I want to ask each of you this question because I think it's really what the crux of this talk is about. How can community members or how can faith-based organizations get involved? Jennifer, if you don't mind, I'll start with you.
All right. Again, like I said, we provided you a great little list right here. Like I said, coming to the meetings, learning more. But I think the biggest thing is educating about yourselves and those of you around you, whether it's your congregation, your Sunday school class, whatever it is, about addiction and what it is and what it can do. Because that helps immediately, like I said, talking about it helps reduce that stigma. I think becoming familiar with the resources that are out there. You maybe can't provide all that. Maybe you're a small church and you can't provide everything, but knowing what's out there. Part of our, and I have to recognize somebody real briefly, Jason Abernathy, he's there in the second row, and Jason, raise your hand. I'm very fortunate to host the Lifeline program here in Northeast Tennessee. And what that is it's an opportunity. It's somebody who reaches out and actually reaches out to the families and individuals, helps them better understand addiction. If you look on the back page here of the other side of where the diagram is, there's actually a list of all the coalitions and a description of Jason's program that unites, educates, supports people and organizations in breaking down barriers to a person wanting recovery through speaking engagements, establishing recovery meetings, uniting people in recovery, community events, diverting people from incarceration, and much more. Invite Jason to come and speak. He covers the entire region. He can come out and talk to you. And as well as our other coalition members, we're a wealth of information, and anything you want to know, we can find somebody who knows something about it that can come and teach you about it. So I think that's the first step, is knowing what's out there, knowing what's available. We've put together also a resource guide that has information on recovery meetings, on treatment, on different things. So it's not something that you have to invent yourself. All you have to do is ask.
Angela, that's a good segue into what you've put together for us at ETSU. our website and all the resources that are there. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So at ETSU, we have a prescription drug abuse and misuse working group that's been meeting for 3 years now, I think. Dr. Lloyd was there in the beginning. And so we meet each month to talk about ways to bridge research, evidence-based research, and practice and help inform policy. And at our last meeting, we had a representative from our state legislature. Is probably the proper way to say that. And so that group does meet. We have a website. If you Google ETSU prescription drug abuse, it's the first thing that'll pop up. It has some information about neonatal abstinence syndrome, our various research projects, resources in your community, and each county in Northeast Tennessee has a fact sheet. So your overdose death rate, your neonatal abstinence syndrome rate for each of those counties is on that website. So you're certainly welcome to join that group at any time. Connect with me or my supervisor, Dr. Rob Pack, who's also very passionate about this. And to add to what Jennifer was saying, if you don't have intimate personal experience with addiction, I recommend that you just visit some of these places. I know as soon as I came to town, I heard about Red Legacy Recovery in Carter County, and I started volunteering there. And I'm there every Tuesday night, and then I work at Willow Ridge and Magnolia Ridge on the weekends. And the stories, wow, you do not realize how hard it is in this environment to get better. The disease itself is only one tiny fraction of it. The housing, I see women who have been abused and they have to live with their families that abuse them because they need a stable home because of their probation. And it's just day after day after day. I mean, I had one who was so discouraged the other night that she was very actively suicidal. And if you just say, I'm here to help, and you just begin to visit, it is, there's so much you can do. But I cannot stop there by just saying, treatment, we talk a lot about what we're doing at the end of the spectrum, what we're doing in treatment. There's a world of research and a world of ways to prevent this from happening in the first place. And it looks different because we're preventing something from happening. We're not putting out a fire. What your coalitions can do is inform you about how to keep this from being the picture that we're looking at 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So really do reach out. I will come hang out, have coffee, have tea, whatever you need, tell you about programs you can do with your youth, lock boxes, whatever you need, we'll be there. So just holler.
And Angela's been instrumental in putting this together. And matter of fact, I guess it's how I met a lot of people on the stage is finding out what's in our communities and what we can start to access. Now, if you go back to your churches and you decide to put out a survey to all of your congregation members, and the survey needs to basically, are you struggling with substance abuse yourself, or are you struggling with it in your family? They're just going to all voluntarily put it down there and hand it back to you. That's what will happen. All right, so let me tell you this. The United States is 5% of the world's population. Okay, yet we consume 80% of the world's opiate supply. Okay, so we're the worst nation in the world. Tennessee is the worst state in the worst nation in the world. Us and Alabama are neck and neck. Okay, percentage points that aren't even different. So Tennessee, we live in the worst state in the worst nation in the world. Northeast Tennessee, where we live, we have the highest rates of babies being born drug dependent. We are the worst section of the worst state in the world when it comes to abuse of opioids. Yet whenever you ask your congregation, like we did at First Christian, we had 3 people that put something down there, and of course it was about somebody they knew, right? 3. Now my church is huge. First Christian's a huge church. I bet we have 2,500 members. 3, really? This is in your congregations. I promise you. I promise you. How do we uncover it, I think, is the trick. And so I'm going to leave that to my friend Monty to answer.
Well, we're part of the mobilization effort. We're working with the churches to become certified recovery congregations. And what that means is we're building a mobile, a visible network of churches and faith-based organizations across the state that openly support people in recovery. And by doing that, we're starting the conversation and trying to get the people that are in that congregation, in that community, to open up and talk about the fact that they may be in recovery, they may be suffering from addiction, or they have somebody close to them that's suffering from addiction. 3 out of 4 Tennesseans are touched by addiction. 3 out of 4. So you look around, 3 out of 4 people sitting beside you, or including you, have been touched by addiction. That doesn't necessarily mean you're using drugs, but but that means that somebody close to you has had an incident or an issue involved. So in the process of working with the different communities of faith, what we've uncovered is that we have a large group of people who have an older, outdated look of exactly what addiction is and who it touches. Because he's right. I work with churches that have 10 members and some that have 10,000. And I hear this story all the time. Not in my church. I don't know anybody. I don't really know what that is. Come back next week. Here's a card I'll fill out. Here's something on it if you want to talk to me. And then they don't put an email address or a phone number on it. And I understand that there's so much stigma surrounding addiction. And I want to say something really quick. She talked about the people when they get out of jail, when they get out of prison. I don't know the right statistic, but the majority of the people, they have been touched by addiction at some point in their life. They are the ones. They get out of jail or prison. Again, that same stigma is coupled with them and shackles them for life. With the faith community mobilizing, starting recovery efforts, not only can we address this part of the addiction, we can address that part. If the faith community is over 60% of our state, imagine if the faith community all got on the same page and pushed the same initiatives. Yes, people would go to work. Yes, people would find housing. And yes, Tennessee would beat addiction. Right now, we have 91 different churches across the state that are certified recovery congregations. I'm in the process of working with another 100 and some odd. I can't keep up with the number. I'm working with denominational heads all the way down to people that just volunteer at the church. The whole goal is to make recovery visible. Why do you want to make recovery visible? Because when it becomes visible, people are more apt to say, hey, I need help. We're not trying to just, there are a lot of people, I understand that there are a lot of people that addiction may not have touched you. You may not have seen it. But once we start to talk about it and we give you a functioning definition of exactly what it is and what it looks like, I think that your opinion or your view may change. Again, once we openly address addiction and we mobilize and have a large-scale effort, we can change the culture that surrounds addiction. People that suffer from addiction are still our family members. They're still our brothers, sisters, uncles, cousins, friends. They're still our community members. And each time we reach one of them, we not only help them, we create a champion. And that champion is going to be somebody who understands the language of addiction, the language of pain, the language of sorrow. And they're going to understand how the faith that they have and the faith that you have helped them find can help them bridge that gap and go back out and reach somebody else. The Take One program is a prime example. People incorporated from the faith community to reach out and provide a mentorship. I think that fellowship in and of itself in the congregation is the key to getting people to bridge that gap. I mentioned last night, and I want to just say it again, that there's a lot of wisdom in the different the age demographics. Sometimes we may feel like because I'm 75 and he's 25, we can't connect. You're so wrong. The addiction may sound a little different. It may look a little different, but it's the same thing. It's the same issue. And the power comes in the story. The power comes in your testimony or your message to those people. Because once they hear your story or what you've been through, it doesn't necessarily have to be drug addiction. We have people who are addicted to chocolate, addicted to television programs, addicted to lifestyle choices. But they overcame that. And that power and that message and that testimony is how we can get other people to bridge. Faith communities, we live in the buckle of the Bible Belt. We have the largest entity to combat anything we try to combat if we can work together.
Monty said that, talk about people coming out of jail, and we threw this statistic out the other night. For those of you who weren't here, I'm going to throw it back out. It's worth mentioning. 75% of those incarcerated meet criteria for substance use disorder. 3 out of every 4. Yet when they get out, we pat them on the back and say, have at it without treatment. Ashton, I've got just a few minutes left, so we'll kind of give you the last word on this. How can people in this room help your efforts at the DRC?
Being open. He was talking about people looking different, and that's exactly what some of our clients, that's what they are, that they're different. And sometimes when they walk into a room or church, you know that there's something different about them. So I think just being open to someone who is different and who is struggling. Addicts are really good at manipulating So I think it's important to not enable them and hand them money or do everything for them. But I do think it's important to offer support and to be there when they are in need of support. And the mentorship with the Take One, I think, is a great opportunity for people to get involved and to mentor some of our clients who have just never had positive relationships before. They've grown up with parents who weren't supportive, and I mean, some of their parents provide the drugs for them. That's where they've learned that. So I think that's really important to just have support that maybe the staff can't offer.
I don't know if anybody else in the room has ever done this. You ever decided you're going to teach your kid a lesson and have them participate in something, and then whenever you get into it, you realize that you're the idiot? I did that a few years back. There was a movement getting started in the Tri-Cities called the Interfaith Hospitality Network. We're going to bring homeless folks into our churches and provide a stable living environment while they went back and forth trying to put their lives together. And so I took my son Heath and my nephew Jackson. They were small at the time, and I volunteered for one night. I said, I'm going to show these boys, what they've got. When they start complaining to me, then they need to look at what other people have. That was my idea. And then I got in there. And the very first night, we had a young woman who was a single mom. She had 2 kids, not much older than mine. And boy, you talk about getting smacked in the face. I realized that there was a really, really fine line separating me from her, and I really was having trouble finding where that line was. And I think that it is, just on the back of what Monty says, as we talk with people that are in this process, that are struggling with addictive disease, that have suffered consequences that Ashton's talking about, you're going to find out that you have a whole lot more in common with them than you think. And then when those connections are made, then we start to change their rat park. And when we do that, we're moving in the right direction. Our time is up. We're going to have. I think we're.
Can we one more thing?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
One more thing is, if you look at Monty's flyer right here, it says Tennesseans are hurting, and it says to learn more, to get involved, attend this upcoming workshop, incorporating recovery within your congregation and its impact on the community. That is actually happening. So this is the interactive part. So you have to get out a pen and you have to write down here in this little blank space because technical difficulties. I'm a great coalition leader, but I'm not good at computers sometimes. So yeah, if you have anybody who wants to volunteer for that, we would like that. But anyways, right on here, March the 10th at 2:30 p.m. Tentatively, is Miss Gunnings here from Boones Creek Church? Is she in here? Oh, I don't know. She made it today. Oh, okay. Well, anyways. Oh, you are? Okay, so anyways, I had spoke to her, and so it's tentative because I have not officially gotten the application in, but it's going to be at Boones Creek Church at 2:30 on March 10th. We're going to do this. Yes. What is it? Thank you, Boones Creek Christian Church. Like I said, we're building this plane as we're flying it. Like I said, Monty came in, and we're like, we got to do this. We're going to bring this to Northeast Tennessee. We're going to have this. So what you can do is if you... the application right here that has the little state seal on it, take that back to your church, or you yourself, even, whatever your role is, fill this out and get it to Monty. His information's on the back. You can email it, mail it. We can actually send it electronically through your contact through how you signed up today. We can get this application out to everybody. Sign up. Come on March 10th. And in the meantime, once we get your contact information, we're going to start giving you information. We're going to start that education process before you even come to the workshop that day. We're putting together a toolkit that's going to be for churches to help educate yourself and to help get this information out. So we're going to get you started before you even get there. So that's one thing you can do.
Thanks, Jennifer. We're going to have lunch down the hallway. I think maybe a couple of housekeeping items, but I encourage you to join us. Tuesday was a very lively discussion, and all of our panelists will be there. So I encourage us to use that time wisely. And thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.